Hey, I have a really good friend of mine who really kind of got me into playing with design. I'm not quite there yet. I'm almost there, but I'm not quite there yet. But she's such an inspiration, and she really got me into all this. And um, she's looking at me as I put up my website. And one of the things I love to do is record these tools as individual little tool demos. Just to have them for me to go back and remind myself, because as you're learning Illustrator, After Effects, Photoshop, watercolor painting, I really love to add gouache. I'm doing some, what do you call it? Printmaking blocks. Do you know what I mean? When you're and you work full time, when you're learning all these things and you work full time, the last thing you want to do is go back and have to relearn something. And then a lot of times these tutorials are recorded well meaningly in very long demos or in demos of 5 or 6 different tools, and it's just so mind numbing. So one of the things I wanted to do was just record quick individual tool demos, as really these are as much for myself as they are for you. But she says to me, I can't believe you're recording videos. That's so amazing. Like, A, again, they're for me. And B, when it's easy, it's easy. And when it's not, it's not. So this is the third time I've recorded this one tonight. But I want to get it done. I want to move on. I'm always in that mode. I need to move on. All right, so I want to show you the Puppet Warp tool in both Photoshop and Illustrator tonight, because it's just an amazing tool. So this is going to be a quick demo. So we're now in Photoshop. I isolated this poppy. Let's go over to, so to access the Puppet Warp tool in Photoshop, I can never find it in my tools. So go to Edit and Puppet Warp, and there is no quick key, okay? It's an amazing tool in Photoshop. So in Photoshop, it gives you all of these different points. It's really not a free-form tool. It's a frame tool, but you can freely move these little frame points. Now, I'm not going to teach you anything in depth. I'm just going to give you a demo. And then if you are intrigued by this, you can go find all kinds of let me show you just this big point here. So we've got some really fine long skinny branch versions, and then we've got some big points, okay? And then I'll put a bunch along this stem. I love how it created this structure. So it's so cool. In Photoshop, you get this sort of frame tool. So I'll show you a couple things, and then we'll go over to Illustrator. So you've put in your points where you think you might want to bend and twist and play. I'm going to put one more in here. Just one, and not a bunch with these little micro ones. Okay, so if I click on this button right here now that I've created, I can move this out, or I can move it in and down, right? And it'll adjust. If I don't put anchor points in here, it'll adjust this arm, okay? So I don't mind this. That was a good movement. And then if I want to click just one of these, let me show you what happens if I click this button while I have these other points anchored. It's going to do some wacky stuff, okay? Okay, pretty wacky. But that's interesting. I can move this up here from below to up above. Where was this? Like here, right? Interesting. So completely change the shape of that petal. And you saw I can really go pretty wacky with this, okay? Look at that. All right, so I want it to be up here because that looks semi-normal. And you got to get, this is a watercolor, so you're really affecting your watercolor texture here. But, you know, you may want that, you may not want that. Then what you can do, so if I go from this button to this button, I deselect this, the old button when I go to the new button. But if I hold down Shift, I can select more than one button at a time. So then I can take both of these points and drag them out. It's very cool. And again, so I'm gonna not hold down Shift. I'm gonna come over to a new point. And I'm gonna just I don't know, adjust that. And then I'm gonna adjust, again, I'm not holding down Shift, I'm just coming to a new point, and I'm gonna shift this down. Maybe again in and down, okay? And I'll leave the rest alone, but you get the point. Then I want to come down to these down here, and I want to, again, I'm not holding down Shift, I'm going from this point to this point without Shift, and it just deselects the old point and takes me to the new point. I'm going to want to hold down Shift now and select maybe 3 more of these, and then drag this. And again, you can see it affecting the whole shape sometimes. Drag this over here. Without holding Shift, I'm going to click this one, okay, and it deselects all the others really nicely. So I can take these sort of individually and adjust my shape. I want to select 2 now, so I'm going to select the first one, hold down Shift, select the next one. It deselected anything up here I was playing with. Oops, Shift. Okay. And you can decide whether this tool, I'm going to a new point, I want a couple of points. You can decide whether this tool works for you or is too much or whatever your thing is, right? Okay, but I wanted to just demo this puppet warp tool in Photoshop. And then I want to go over and demo the same tool in, I love all of this, I'm going to select all of these in Illustrator. I'm going to select this whole thing and see what happens. Wow, look at all that movement. Oops, because I missed a point. It's very fun, okay? And then I'm going to hit apply. Accidentally hit the selection tool. Apply. Okay. Fine, okay? You can love it, hate it, do whatever you want with it. Okay, that's Photoshop. Now let's go over to Illustrator, and it looks very different. I need to live trace this. So I took this same poppy. I saved it from Photoshop as a JPEG instead of a PNG. I'm not really sure. I had this figured out, and again, I've lost it. I'm not really sure how to get a transparent background imported into Illustrator from Photoshop. So given that this file or this image is the way it is on a 13 by 19 background, I need to live trace this. I'm going to live trace this as a high fidelity photo, or image trace this. It takes just a minute. While it's doing this, so great, I'm going to close this without saving it. No, because I want my file to look like this. Okay. All right, so I have a tracing result now. So this has been traced. I want to expand it. It'll take just a minute. We're almost done. The other tool I would love to show you, but I'll do it in a separate tool video, is this Let's let this do its thing and I'll get the correct name. So I've expanded it now. You see all the little vector paths and shapes. I'm going to object ungroup because I want to get rid of this white background and this dot that should have never been included in this flower. And so now I have this, because it's high fidelity, I have all these little vector paths, right? And shapes. So I want to make sure those are grouped. And now I have a full shape to work with, okay? Oops, I thought I did. That's odd. Object, group. I don't know what I grouped. Let me ungroup both of these. Ungroup. Ungroup. Object, group. Okay, now I have a full image to work with. Okay, so I'll show you the other tool I'd love to demo is this width tool, but we won't go there. I shall refrain. All right, so to find the puppet warp tool easily, click on this free transform tool. It'll be right next to this width tool. Free transform tool and right click to get more options, and your other option is your puppet warp tool. Okay. Now, I don't know why that's there. Okay. So now in your photo, with Photoshop Puppet Warp, you had a whole frame. In Illustrator, you do not. Oops. Uh-oh, clicked off. Right? Ooh, right? Yikes. Oh, Puppet Warp. Click on your Puppet Warp tool. I don't know why it wasn't. And then click on your Direct Selection tool. And you... how strange. Maybe you won't get this part of the demo. Okay. Huh. Interesting. I'm going to hit select and hit Puppet Warp again. So it's given me points. I'm going to zoom in. Hold on. I'm going to hit Control plus. So it's given me points and I can add more. Okay. So I guess it has created a frame as well. But I do believe that we can go into direct select and use this tool again. So I guess it does give you a frame. I guess it's very similar. So then you just click on a point. I'm going to add some more points. I didn't have to deselect anything. And I'm going to choose this point. It's, so you know what? I forgot. It really does operate very much like, you just have this outline, right? It does very much operate like the one in Photoshop, or this tool in Photoshop. Cool. I just love this tool. I'm going to add another point here. Okay, just randomly. After I've moved, the other one, I'm going to add another point. So this is just such an incredible free form tool. Now, you have to note that when you add anchors like this, that anchor is going to affect the way this other anchor works. So if I add an anchor here and an anchor here, and then I select this anchor point, it creates some stability up here. So you decide whether you want an anchor there or not. So let's try to remove one of these. If I right click, or if I select this anchor point and I right click, nope. I wonder how to get rid of one of these once you've put it in. Edit. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to guess Alt. Nope. Control. Oh, Control. Nope. Control. Shift. Nope. because it would be important to know that. So I'll redo, oh my gosh, all hell is breaking loose. How do I deselect this anchor point? There has to be a very easy way to do this. Let's go. I wonder if you go to select again, if it deletes these. And let's go to Puppet Warp Tool, which is the pin. No. I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to hit Alt Select. Nope. Wonder what Alt Select does. Okay. Oh my gosh. So I'm learning as fast as you. So anyway, there's a basic demo. I will play with this some more, or maybe this inspires you to go find a real tutorial and play around with this Puppet Warp Tool. But look what I can get in Illustrator, which to me is amazing, given that this is a whole bunch of high fidelity paths. Like how many paths are in here, how much you can just warp this fluidly. So sorry it wasn't a better tutorial, but I wanted to just give you a demo of this tool. And as I learn and play more, I will publish an advanced Puppet Warp Tool demo. But, you know, that could be a year from now. All right, so there is a basic intro to this Puppet Warp Tool in both Illustrator and Photoshop. Take care. Bye.